talking about a Philly group that Tyrese Maxey is a guy that's on the come up. Okay, we assume he's going to be unbelievable. Paul George is on the back half of his career and has never achieved what he's supposed to have with other star-laden teams. Joel Embiid has been a disappointment in the playoffs.
Philadelphia 76ers, the situation that sparked this whole conversation. We've got Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, and of course, like I said at the top of the show, ESPN's Tim Bontemps said that, quote, the Sixers now have the best big three in the NBA. It's really not close. So the Phoenix Suns will be next. So let's go ahead and have a little mini conversation here.
Okay.
Just kind of comparing the two and their big three. I did pull some stats because one of the things that I do find interesting is that after seeing what happened with our big three last year and the need for more chemistry, continuity, and to figure a few things out, even though we were hopeful that we wouldn't need that, did we not learn anything when it comes to the 76ers? Or do we think that they're just beyond what the Suns' big three was last year heading into their first full season together, that they may not need that time?
I think it's different for them because they don't have positional or skill set overlap like we did. Like Bradley Beal and Devin Booker, yes, they're different players, but similar catch and shoot scenario, similar, they get the ball in similar spots. They need the ball in similar spots. I feel like it's different with the Sixers because they have Embiid, who operates where he operates. They have Maxey, who can operate on the perimeter. And Paul George, as much as we give him flack for his playoff shortcomings, he is a very malleable player who fits in well with other pieces. We've seen it throughout his career. So I feel like the fit there might be a little easier than maybe ours was.
Yeah, but you're also 2/3 of that big three are guys that have completely fallen short of their goals throughout their careers. Two guys that have such a stigma about the way that they play in the playoffs, where, if we're just going to compare them with the Suns, you've got two guys that have been to the NBA Finals in there, that do it. That's why it's tough for me. The idea that they're the best big three in the NBA is asinine to me. Like
the Sixers?
The Sixers.
Who's got a better big three?
I think what we have on our list right now, I would argue that three of the teams in the top there are better than the Celtics have a better big three. I would argue right now.
I don't know if they have a better big three. I think they have a better team. They have a better starting five.
Definitely the Celtics are better. There's not. I think their big three is better. I just do. Because
but we couldn't even narrow it down to who the third member
Drew
was.
Holiday.
But it's not because you can't narrow it down because of Porzingis, though.
I don't know.
Porzingis averaged 19 points per game last year?
20.
Was it 20?
I don't think it's a detriment that they can't name a third person because there are a lot of good players.
Too many guys.
I think it is if the conversation is we're ranking big threes.
But
if
I think having three people around equal value. It's not that you can't tell who the big three is because they all suck.
Let's say
I get that, but
if you pick Porzingis as a part of that big three, is that big three in your book better or worse than the Sixers' big three?
Better. Because that big three has actually been to the top of the mountain. They've done it.
And on the flip side,
they didn't do it because of the big three alone. They did it because they have the 5 or 6 best, 5 or 6 man rotation in the NBA.
If you just those three versus this three, which one would you pick?
Probably Phillies, honestly.
You think Philly still? Does it make a difference if you swapped out Drew for Porzingis?
I'd probably still go Philly.
Okay.
To me, you've seen what Drew Holiday means to multiple teams now. He's fantastic. Both ends. His impact is undeniable. You look at Jayson Tatum, regardless of what he did in the Olympics by not playing, people argued how great he was throughout last season. Jaylen Brown is very good. I can't overlook the success that they've had. They've gone to multiple finals, at least two of those three. And we're talking about a Philly group that Tyrese Maxey is a guy that's on the come up. Okay. We assume he's going to be unbelievable. Paul George is on the back half of his career and has never achieved what he's supposed to have with other star-laden teams. Joel Embiid has been a disappointment in the playoffs in Philly.
He did also only play 39 games last season.
That's fair.
So, like, to me, I don't see a world where it makes sense that they could be over those three, just based on success, based on injury, based on, that's why I'm not counting Porzingis. I'd rather have Drew Holiday in that three. I don't know. I don't see it with Philly. I think it's a massive overreaction like we saw with the Suns last offseason.
I feel like their top three players are incredible. I feel like after that, you have a lot of questions about what the Sixers have around them. And I feel like those three pieces are going to fit pretty well. You're right. There are the injury concerns with Embiid in particular and Paul George to a certain degree. Yeah. There are the playoff concerns in terms of underachieving. I will say the Paul George underachieving thing, like a lot of people bring up the Pacers stuff with him. And those fuck, man, he went toe-to-toe with LeBron on a Pacers team as the best player.
I just count the Clippers stuff.
The Clippers stuff is disappointing. I'm good with anywhere as long as they're in the elite tier.
Yeah, well, let's go.
Okay, so far in the elite, we've got the Celtics, the Nuggets, and the Bucks. Where would you put them when we're looking at the elite tier with these three?
I'm fine if you put them right behind the Celtics.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay, we'll do that for now then. And next up, we've got the Suns. Where do we rank ourselves?
Great behind the Mavericks.
Yeah? For real,
Great?
for real?
Ooh, that's rough.
But we just talked about Lively being kind of the weak link. I know you could make an argument as far as like injury, right? Bradley Beal only played 53 games last year. Still more than Joel Embiid played last year. You really think the big three are behind the Mavs?
You're saying they'd be in front of the Mavs?
I think so, yeah.
Really? Two guys who made all NBA.
Yeah.
Plus somebody who averaged 18, 5, and 5.
I think they should be in front of the Mavs.
I have them in between the Sixers and Nuggets, I think.
Okay. I think
that's a good take.
I would be down for that, but I also am very biased. So I was trying to be a little less biased in my
I don't think
here.
it's I think, okay, here's the thing with Bradley Beal. Yes, he missed 29 games or whatever. He also put up 18-5-4 on 51, 43, 81 shooting splits as the third member of a big three that had two guys that were averaging 27 points per game. And he did it while his role fluctuated throughout the year, while he dealt with multiple different injuries that threw him in and out of the lineup. Like, I get that it wasn't the season we wanted, especially come playoff time from Bradley Beal. But I do think that context is important, and just being able to produce that, like an 18-5-4 stat line as the third member of a big three, that's pretty damn good in and of itself without all those other circumstances thrown in.
But isn't injury concern part of this though? Like,
yeah,
like if I'm playing in a world that it's in a vacuum, a lot of these teams are different, right? In where we rank them. Yeah. So for me, the injury concern is a big part of it too.
Well,
right?
then now you got to question the Sixers thing because Joel has been injured a lot.
But you could question the Sixers, the Bucks with Chris Middleton, the Nuggets with Jamal Murray, the Mavs with Kyrie.
If we're talking duo,
so only the Celtics in elite, everyone drops down.
Well, no, but if we were talking duo, there's a different argument here. But we're talking big three, and the injury concern when you combine all three of those guys, there's a good chance that when you add it all up, you're in totality, you're missing one of those three, at least at one part during the season, right? Just based on what we've seen history-wise.
So for you, it's not just the Bradley Beal thing; it's the fact that KD and Book can be.
Yeah, that problem. Let's be honest. Do we really think we're going to get 78 at a KD again after you add
We're praying for it.
but I'm just saying, like high 60s, low 70s, would be more realistic when you consider how much he played last year, what he did playing this summer, like. I'm trying not to. The homer in me says, yeah, put him above the 76ers, and put him right behind that Celtics team, but I'm trying to bring some logic into it the way I've tried to look at everybody else. And I mean, I would be fine with if you wanted to say that the Suns were better than the Nuggets and the Bucks, that you drop all of them into the great category. And that, and at that point, then you consider moving the Lakers and Pacers to above average. But I do not feel comfortable enough with all those question marks to say elite necessarily.
I just think they have the same questions as the Sixers. The Sixers have two very injury-prone guys and then a small guard, right? And it's like you talk about talent-wise, I think Bradley Beal as a third is as good as anybody on this list.
Yeah.
I think they're another team that at the end of the season, you could be saying that they're number one, wherever you put them in this mashup right now.
And I know we haven't factored this in to our decision making, but we have had an entire year now. We preached chemistry, continuity all last year. We should have it by now, or be close to.
We hope. If you have good health, you should have a better.
But I don't think it can dictate where we rank them. We hope.
Yeah. It's August. I can only base it on what we saw last year. Like I said, with others. And do I believe that Budenholzer is going to get the best out of all three of those guys? Yes, I do. I mean, there could even be a world where you might argue Tyus Jones winds up in the big three, depending on what. I mean, if he winds up being an assist monster and doing that, I don't know. There's all sorts of things that can change, right? But if I'm looking at right now, I think it's tough to.
So I think we split the gap and we put them in between the Nuggets and Bucks because I'll be honest, I think Bradley Beal at this stage is a better player and more reliable than Chris Middleton. And I think with the Mavs, the drop off from number 2 to number 3 is enough for me to say if we're looking at a big three as a whole, I would take the Suns' big three. Okay. And I think Nuggets, we go behind them just out of respect for Jokic.